Alright, so there are two types of nouns in Moroccan Arabic, masculine and feminine noun. Most feminine nouns end with an A at the end of the word, which is the silent ta in the Arabic script. The feminine nouns are formed from masculine nouns. So for example, Ostad, which is a male teacher, becomes Ostada, which is female teacher. As I said earlier about the feminine nouns, most of them end with an A at the end, but not all of them. Some of them don't end with an A at the end, but they're still feminine because of their feminine nature. For example, which is a mom, or Ain, which is an eye. There's another category of feminine nouns that don't have an A at the end, but they're still feminine, which have to be learned by heart, which is a good thing because you don't have to have a grammar rule to remember it. So for example, dar, which is a house. House is feminine in Moroccan Arabic. Another example, shimsh, or shims, which is sun. So sun is also feminine. For the plural nouns, the feminine nouns usually end with a T at the end. So for example, misha, which is a female cat, becomes mshat, which is female cat. Alright, now to the exercise. I'll put a list of masculine and feminine nouns all mixed up together, and then your job is to help me guess the masculine and feminine noun. Okay, you ready? Here we go. First one is futa, which is a towel. That is feminine. Moving on. Next up we have is miktub. Miktub is a desk, so that means it's masculine. Moving on to the next up we have is camera, which is camera, and that is feminine. Perfect. Moving on, next up we have is mkhidda, that is a pillow or a cushion, and that is feminine. Moving on, next up we have is kilb, and that is a male dog. Oh, I already answered. It's masculine. Moving on, next up we have is pikala, and that is feminine. It's a bicycle. Moving on, next up we have is cas, and that is masculine. Cas is a glass. Moving on, next up we have is tomobila, and that is feminine. It's a car. It's feminine. Moving on, next up we have is Mdina, and that is feminine. It's a city. Mdina. Next up we have is dar, that is feminine, even though it doesn't have an A at the end. It's still feminine. Dar. Next up we have is maktaba, that is feminine. Maktaba is a library. Maktaba. Moving on to the next word we have is ukht, and that is feminine. Ukht is a sister. It's feminine by nature. Moving on to the one before the last, tricot, and that is masculine. Tricot is a t-shirt. Tricot. Moving on to the last one, shimsh, or shims with an S at the end. Both of them are correct in pronunciation. So that is feminine Shimsh is a sun, it's feminine. For the masculine nouns, each noun has its own form, which is a little bit challenging at first, but just give it some time and you'll memorize it by heart. Our first example is kitab. Kitab, which is a book. Now the masculine plural of it is ktuba. Ktuba. Next example we have is kursi. Kursi, which is a chair. Now the masculine plural version of it is kurasa. Kurasa. Next up we have is tricot. Tricot, which means t-shirt. Now the plural of it is trikuwat. 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 And our last example is sharjam. Sharjam, which means a window. Now the plural of it is shrajam. 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 So our final exercise is about the plural feminine in masculine nouns. It's the same just like the first exercise, except that I will pronounce for you the nouns in the plural form in masculine and feminine. And your job is to guess, is it feminine plural or masculine plural? Okay, are you ready? Here we go. The first noun we have is ktuba. Ktuba. And that is masculine plural. It comes from kitab, and kitab is book. Moving on, next noun we have is mkhiddat. Mkhiddat. And that is feminine plural. It comes from mkhidda. Mkhidda. And mkhidda is a pillow or a cushion. It's feminine. It has an A at the end. Moving on, next up we have is kurasa. Kurasa. And that is masculine plural. It comes from kursi. Kursi. And that is chair. Kursi. Moving on, next up we have is biban. Biban. And that is masculine plural. Biban is the plural version of bab. And bab is a door, so it's masculine. Moving on, next up we have is kamirat. Kamirat. And that is feminine plural. It comes from kamera, and kamera is feminine. It has an A at the end. Moving on, next up we have is maganet. 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 And that is feminine plural. It comes from magana. Magana. And magana is a wristwatch. Magana. Moving on, next up we have is matar. 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 And that is masculine plural. It comes from motor. Motor or mutur, as the Marrakesh people pronounce it. Mutur or motor is actually a motorcycle. It could be an engine, but it's a motorcycle, generally speaking. So it's masculine plural, matar. Our next noun is pikalat. Pikalat. And that is feminine plural. It comes from pikala. And pikala is a bicycle. It's feminine. It has an A at the end. Pikala. Our last example is tomobilat. Tomobilat. And that is, you guessed it right, it's feminine plural. Tomobilat. It comes from tomobila, which is a car. Tomobila or tomobilat. Question of the day. Did you get all the answers correct, or you got some mistakes guessing what type of noun that is? Let me know in the comment section below, and everything that I said is listed down in the description box. Until next time, thanks for watching.